Okay, I want to welcome everybody to our annual State of the Department address. As I was preparing for this year's State of the Department address, I asked various members of the department, what's on your mind? What do you want to hear about? I've been visiting the various divisions to learn more about what's on your mind as we reflect on the past year. And what I heard over and over again was, we're anxious, we're worried, these are such unsettled times. Can you give us some hope that things are going to be okay? Is the NIH going to stop funding research? Is Medicaid funding for children going away? Is academic freedom disappearing? And that's just here within our walls at UCSF. Then there's the anxiety about what's happening outside our walls, mounting worry about the state of the country and even the world. The polarization, the anger, the political violence, the disagreements with, and even the disdain for competing points of view. Is this still a country where free speech is a right? Do we still live by the rule of law? Are we going to see federal troops in our cities? All of a sudden, the things that we took for granted all our lives feel under threat. A deep anxiety that our democratic system of government is teetering and may not survive. Well, I want to provide some reassurance to you. I'm confident that we're going to be okay and we're going to get through these times. I'm a department chair. I'm not a prophet, so I can't see the future any better than you all can. So what gives me that reassurance? Well, it's our history as a country. This is certainly the most perilous time I remember in my lifetime, but it's not the most perilous time that we've lived through as a country, not even close. Let's keep some perspective after all. These times pale in comparison to the dangers we've faced in the past. Is anybody watching Ken Burns' PBS series on the Revolutionary War? It came out a few weeks ago. I really recommend it. It's really good because it really reflects back to what's happening today, because when you watch it, it just reminds us that many of the challenges and disagreements that plague our country today, they've been with us from the beginning. Our country was founded in political violence, and the history of our country is a long struggle over the nature of our society that continues today with many of the same unanswered questions. And Ken Burns makes the point that the Revolutionary War was actually a civil war, Americans against Americans. And then we fought another civil war 80 years later that almost ended this country's system of government. I was a young boy in the 1960s during the struggle for civil rights, another time of great upheaval and uncertainty. And during those same 60s, we had the assassination in just a few short years of our national leaders, John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Robert Kennedy. So while this moment we're in right now sure feels scary, our country's been through much, much worse. We got through those times and emerged a better country on the other side of each one of those crises. Abraham Lincoln's Secretary of State, William Seward, gave the country hope in the midst of the Civil War. He said, "There was always just enough virtue in this republic to save it, sometimes none to spare." Well, is this time going to be different? Are we not going to find that virtue this time? I think we will. At least I hope so. But hope is never enough to carry the day, not then and not today. What Seward meant when he said there was just enough virtue is that there were just enough people who acted on their beliefs. We got through those perilous times not merely by hoping. We got through them because enough individuals acted. Ordinary people who followed their moral compass, who acted in accordance with their beliefs, who acted on their hope to build a better society. Because of the collective actions of individuals, we overcame those perilous times and emerged, still an imperfect society, but ever closer to our aspirations, that shining city on the hill that Ronald Reagan spoke of. What's needed of all of us at this moment, just like those past moments, is action. If we want to create the community, the country, the world we aspire to live in, we can't do it with hope alone. We need to stop wringing our hands in despair. We need to stop doom scrolling. We need to act. That's always been the way we've overcome peril. Jane Goodall, the primatologist, she passed away at the age of 91 last month. Here's what she said about hope. Hope isn't just wishful thinking. There's no good sitting at the mouth of the tunnel and wishing that hope would come to us. We've got to roll up our sleeves. The Bible says, gird your loins. I love that. I'm not quite sure what it means, but let's gird our loins. And we've got to climb over, crawl under, work around all the obstacles that lie between us and the star. It's in the doing that we alleviate hopelessness. We create hope through our daily actions. We need to use all our capacities to confront what's wrong and make it right. Hope, yes, not passive hope, but hope that emerges through action. So over the next hour, I'll be sharing some of the acts that members of our department are taking, ordinary people having extraordinary impact that moves us ever closer to our aspiration for a society that meets our values. These acts are saving lives, making the world a better place for children, and creating the community that we desire for ourselves and for our children. As you'll see, we're not slowing down, we're meeting the moment. I want to remind everybody, and some of you weren't here actually 6 years ago when I arrived and started my tenure as department chair, that I shared with the department at my first State of the Department address in my first year, a vision. And that vision was for us to become the premier academic pediatric department in the country. And I challenged the department to achieve some goals so that we could realize that vision. And the goals were, first, that we become the regional choice for children needing care. Second, that we be a leader in research to improve child health. That we be the premier training program for the next generation of pediatric leaders. And that we be the nation's role model for eliminating child health disparities. As you'll see today, the progress that we've made on each of those goals has actually been very dramatic. Sometimes we don't always pay attention when we're down in the weeds, and it's helpful sometimes to take a step back or go up way up high and look down from 10,000 feet. And as you're going to see, we've actually made dramatic progress in each of these goals these last 6 years due to the efforts of all of you and your passion and commitment. And I really feel that there's a lot to be proud of. We should all take pride in the progress we've made. Much work yet to do, but very dramatic progress, as I'll show you. So we're going to start with the clinical care. I always start with the clinical mission. Even though I'm a physician scientist, I spent my entire career before coming to UCSF as an NIH-based funded laboratory scientist. But I always start with the clinical mission. Why? Because at the end of the day, that's our raison d'etre. It's the reason we're here. Everything we do is focused on improving the lives of children. That's our fundamental purpose as a Department of Pediatrics. I want to first of all acknowledge our leaders in our clinical mission. Sarah Buckaloo, our Vice Chair for Clinical Affairs, Jim Wong, who's Executive Medical Director for Children's Ambulatory Services at Mission Bay, and Paul Brakeman, the Ambulatory Medical Director for the Oakland Hospital. No Child Left Behind is actually legislation that Congress passed related to education during the Bush administration. But I think it's very appropriate for what we're trying to do here as well. So when I arrived, I felt that we were not doing an adequate job of meeting the needs of the children of our community. And it began with the fact that we really didn't have great access. So no matter how excellent our programs are and our clinical care is, if patients can't get in, then by definition, we're not providing great care. Obviously, we're not providing care. So I was committed that we should make every effort that any child who wanted to be seen or needed to be seen by a pediatrician, and especially a pediatric specialist in our community, that we be able to provide that care in a reasonable length of time. And so I reached out to leaders in the hospital who oversee the ambulatory program. And in particular, I want to give a shout out to Jason Selinger, who's been a tremendous partner for us from the very beginning of this initiative. And we set up something called the Ambulatory Optimization Task Force that's been meeting every Friday for the last 6 years to try to improve access. We set a goal as follows, that any new child wishing to be seen by one of our specialists, we'd be able to offer them an appointment within 72 hours of them reaching out to us. That was an aspirational goal. I felt that goal was important, even though it is a very challenging goal, obviously. But I'm a father of 3 children, now grown children. I just had my second grandchild, so I now have 2 grandchildren. And I can tell you that if my children, when they were little, or my grandchildren were told by their pediatrician that they needed to see a cardiologist or an oncologist or some other specialist, if I had to wait more than a week for my child to be seen or my grandchild, I'd be very anxious about that. And so that's why I believe that we need to provide outstanding access. And for me, what I said is let's shoot for 72-hour access for new patients. So this task force met, and we identified 3 bottlenecks to achieving that great access. And we've been working on each of those bottlenecks for the last 6 years. Still a lot of work to do, but as you'll see, we've actually made tremendous progress. First bottleneck was just scheduling. Even today, we don't have the best, we still have a lot of work to do in scheduling, but back then it was even more challenging. Patients would call, they'd have to take a message and return the call, telephone tag back and forth. If you called the Oakland, if you happen to pick up the Oakland scheduler, they couldn't schedule for Mission Bay and vice versa, or any of the outreach sites. Some of that was out of our hands in the sense that the Oakland schedulers and the Mission Bay schedulers were in different unions and they couldn't work cross Bay. A lot of that's been solved now. The goal has been to create a centralized scheduling system. So there would be a single phone number for all of our clinics, and it doesn't matter where you want to be seen. We could offer an appointment, whatever is most convenient for the family. Because of the as of the beginning of this year, July, all the schedulers from both sides of the Bay now are together. We now don't have 2 unions anymore. They're all co-localized. We're going to be able to, over the course of this year, to actually realize the goal of having a centralized scheduling system for all of pediatrics. And that's going to be a huge step forward. The other thing we did is we wanted to prioritize new patients to make sure that there was room in our clinic schedules for new patients so they weren't all filled with return patients. Otherwise, we wouldn't have room for new patients. The second bottleneck we identified was just having enough faculty. So when I got here, there were long wait lists for many of our services to get seen, sometimes months. And so we decided to approach this in a different way than traditionally this has been approached at UCSF. First of all, we said, well, if we don't have enough providers, let's figure out how many providers we need just to meet the current wait list. And so Jason Selinger, again, I want to give a shout out to Jason because he's been such a good partner for these efforts with us. He spent a lot of time doing an analysis of patients waiting and what the number of faculty we would need to recruit in order to meet the demand. And he did that for every division and every specialty. We then met with each division chief to validate those numbers and the assumptions that went into that. And then I said to Jason, let's agree that we're going to do something different than we're used to doing, which is, let's just say we need 8 gastroenterologists to meet the demand. Instead of recruiting 1 this year and maybe 1 next year, let's recruit as many as we can, as quickly as we can, as many as we can, high quality people that we want. That was a different way of doing things. But Jason agreed that made sense. And so that's been the journey we've been on, accelerating faculty recruitment. We've made a lot of progress. So through that entire analysis across the entire department, we determined that we needed 40 additional CFTEs to meet the current demand 2 years ago. This was in 2023. That's a lot more than 40 faculty because many faculty are not just doing clinical work, they're doing other things as well. In the last 2 years, since we began this initiative, we've already recruited 27 of those 40 CFTs. So we're already more than halfway to that goal. And so we're making really great progress at that. You can see here just spelled out by division what the growth need was and the progress we've made by division. So we're more than halfway to that goal of getting those people recruited, and we're continuing on that effort. Now let's look at the impact. The impact has been really dramatic. Again, something we should all be proud of. So since 4 years ago, you can see here on this graph, we are currently seeing 12,000 more new patients a year than we were seeing 4 years ago. That represents almost a 50% increase in new patients every year. That's the number of new patients we're able to reach because of these efforts. And if you look at total visit volumes, we're seeing 20,000 more visits today than we were 4 years ago. Now, we don't have a metric that the hospital doesn't actually measure 72-hour access, which is our aspirational goal. The closest we can get to that is 7-day access. So that's what you see here. And we've made progress here. We were at around 35% of patients being seen within 7 days. Now we're at 40% over the last couple of years. There's still, as you can tell, a lot of work to be done. Part of the reason this doesn't look as dramatic as the increase in volumes is because, not surprisingly, we anticipated this. As soon as we bring down that wait time, patients are going to start lining up outside the door to get seen because they realize, the referring providers and the patients realize that it's easier to get into our clinics. And so the goalpost keeps moving, and we're constantly playing catch up. But that's something we understand, and so these recruitment goals are not static. They're going to evolve year by year based on need. The third bottleneck, and this was a really big one that I think will resonate with everybody in the room here, and that is that we needed to make sure that if we're going to recruit these faculty, that there would be enough staff and equipment and rooms for the faculty to be able to be productive seeing these patients. This required some lengthy conversations because this is not the way UCSF has approached this in the past. The policy that UCSF has had is that they wanted the department to recruit the faculty, and then they wanted to see if the volumes grew as a result of that, and only if they saw the volumes were they then ready to add more staff. And obviously, that's a recipe for not being successful, because how can the faculty be successful and productive in the clinics if they don't have the things they need in the clinics to be successful? So we came to an agreement to try something different, and that is that if the department was making a commitment to recruit the faculty, and by the way, taking on the financial risk because we're paying a full salary to that faculty, and the only source of funding we have to pay that salary is the RVUs that those faculty are generating. So if the department was going to take the risk to recruit the faculty, and we knew that these faculty were going to get busy right away because we only were recruiting faculty based on known demand. We knew what the demand was. So we didn't have to worry that there weren't going to be enough patients for these faculty. So we agreed to do that. The hospital has committed now that they will ensure that the staffing necessary for those faculty to be productive is there on day one, not 6 months later or a year later. We have that agreement now. We've been working. We've actually been meeting as we speak. We're beginning to implement this. We've been meeting with each division chief to review the staffing for each of our services, validate that with the division chiefs, show them the benchmarks that the hospital uses for how they decide staffing. And we're now moving towards executing on that commitment in principle. And I just want to emphasize that a commitment in principle is one thing. Putting that into practice, obviously, it's not going to be quite so simple as the way I'm describing it. We have a complicated bureaucracy. People are used to doing things one way, and changing patterns of behavior is not always easy. But I'm very pleased that we have a commitment from the hospital that we are on the same page on this and we agree on what we want to try to do. And so we're going to be moving forward with this. So you see here the impact of some of these efforts. I think we should all be proud of the ability that we've had over the last few years to care for more children as a result of these initiatives. Now, this is just nice data we should be proud of. But behind all that data is a child and a family whose lives are being impacted by our acts, your acts. So let's take a look at one example of how members of our department are acting to change lives.
My name is Katie Bertolacchi, and my daughter, Brooklyn Bertolacchi, is now 9 years old and has been in the care and a patient at UCSF since the day she was born. Brooklyn was born with a congenital heart defect that we were unaware of in utero called pulmonary valve stenosis. She also has insufficiency of her tricuspid valve and has undergone multiple procedures and operations at UCSF. We're connected at UCSF from the moment she was born and when we realized something was wrong. From the very beginning, they made it seamless to get the care she needed. So within the hours of her birth, when the congenital heart defect was discovered, she was immediately flown by helicopter from Stockton, where we lived, to Oakland. And that quick response saved her life, truly.
For Brooklyn in particular, I've known her since she was born. She was born at a hospital in Stockton. I was transferred to Penny-Webb Children's Hospital, Oakland, and we diagnosed what her initial problem was. And her disease evolved that the catheter therapy couldn't take care of it, so she had to have surgical intervention, and then subsequently needed another surgical intervention.
Every step since then, from her first balloon catheterizations to her open heart surgeries to her most recent valve replacements, the team has guided us with clear communication, reassurance, and a plan forward. As parents, we never felt alone in the process at all.
You have the parents and the patient undergoing stress. And I think it's the same thing. You have to approach with calmness, you have to approach with confidence and answer all the questions I have. And a child has a very different question than the adult or the parents. And so you have to be able to kind of communicate in both ways.
hard to pinpoint one moment because we've been so cared for since the moment that she landed in Oakland into the care team. We kind of became a family. But one moment that stands out most came after Brooklyn's most recent surgery, when her valve failed much sooner than we expected. Her doctors, along with us, were devastated, and they felt that they had failed her. But instead of brushing past it, they sat with us, they were honest about what happened, and they shared in our heartbreak as well. That kind of vulnerability really showed us how deeply they care for Brooklyn and our family. It wasn't just about Brooklyn being another patient. She was their patient, and her struggles were personal to them too. It was that compassionate honesty that reminded us that we're all on the same team. Brooklyn's journey has been full of challenges, multiple procedures, surgeries, recoveries, and the constant uncertainty of what comes next in her journey. But UCSF has been our anchor through it all. The consistency of seeing the same faces on her care team since the day she was born has brought us immense comfort. The doctors, nurses, and staff have celebrated in her victories with us and supported us through her setbacks, and they've given us the tools to help her live a full life despite her condition. Thanks to UCSF, Brooklyn's been able to go to school, to swim, to travel, just simply be a kid. And their support hasn't been just medical, it's been emotional and life-changing for our whole family.
I want to thank Brooklyn's family for allowing us to share that story. It reminds us what it means to truly meet the moment, to provide not just excellent care, but hope as well. And all of you should really be proud of how your acts are providing hope to your patients and their families. Where do we go from here? Well, we'll continue on the journey. As I emphasized, we're nowhere near done with trying to reach our goals. We have a lot of work yet to do, but we're going to continue down this road to reach more children in need and continue to ensure the high quality care that all of you provide. Now let's move on to our research mission. This was our second goal. Again, I want to just emphasize to you, you'll be amazed at the dramatic progress we've made in reaching this goal. So back when I got here 6 years ago, we were ranked number 21 in the country in NIH funding among all departments of pediatrics, which is one measure, not the only measure, but it's an important measure of our research prowess. And I said to the department in my first address, that's pretty good. There are over 200 departments of pediatrics in the country. So if we're 21, we're in the top 10%. But we're UCSF. The School of Medicine at UCSF for over a dozen years has been ranked number one in NIH funding amongst all schools of medicine in the United States. The Department of Medicine is every year ranked number one amongst departments of medicine. The Department of Neurology every year is ranked first or second. So 21st is pretty good, but we can do better than that, I thought. So we embarked on a goal to get into the top 10 in NIH funding. And I'm going to share with you the progress we've made, but I want to also acknowledge our leaders in our research enterprise, Jim Byer, who took over this past year from Kevin Shannon as our new vice chair for laboratory research, Roberta Keller, our vice chair for clinical translational research, and Naomi Bardak, our vice chair for health services research. We began to invest and prioritize this goal as a major priority for the department. And this is a fact that I bet very few people in the School of Medicine are aware of. Our department invests more dollars per research faculty than any other clinical department in the UCSF School of Medicine today. And our goals have been to expand our research enterprise, to develop our early career investigators, to recruit new talent from outside, and to secure more research space. I want to share with you the progress we've made. This is as dramatic as what I shared with you on the clinical progress we've made, maybe even more dramatic. Since we started this initiative back in FY19 when we were ranked 21, This past year, we were ranked number 12. We've doubled our NIH funding from $17 million to $33 million in just this short few years. It's really quite remarkable. And if you look at our total funding, we've gone from about 40 million to over 120 million. We've more than tripled our total research funding, with 174 of our faculty participating in obtaining this funding. Now, this work and this progress, which all of you should be proud of, is a result of two things. One, we've made major investments. And two, we have amazing talent here. And so it's just a really good example of how if you take people of talent and support them, they can do great things, and they will do great things. And so we've put a lot of effort into developing and supporting our early career investigators. That's been a big effort. Just to share with you some of the what that looks like. Since 2021, we've invested over $12 million in department research support for young investigators. We've provided $6 million in over-the-cap salary support for our K awardees. We competed successfully for an NICHD K-12, which is a national program to develop pediatric lab-based physician scientists. There are only 12 such departments in the country. We are one of those that has one of these awards. We established faculty advisory committees so that we can make sure that our faculty are getting the resources and support they need. We have a current 25 faculty who have K awards this year. So it's one of the largest cohort of K awardees of any department of pediatrics in the country. And I want to congratulate the 3 faculty who received the K award this year: Aaron Bodansky, Matt Kahn, and Mauro Caffarelli. Now, with all that growth, we're bursting at the seams in terms of space. And so I'm very pleased that we've been able to secure, with the support of the Chancellor, Sam Hawgood, new space for our growing research program. Because we were able to demonstrate such great growth, it gave the Chancellor a reason to want to give us more space. We've secured 15,000 square feet of very beautiful modern lab space just a couple blocks from here at 499 Illinois Street. We are getting ready to move into that space sometime after the new year. It's going to be transformative for our department. And in Oakland, we're also expanding research space. So we are modernizing 11,000 square feet in the Martin Luther King Research Building to create state-of-the-art labs to support a stem cell and hematology research center. We've also created 3,000 square feet of dry lab space at the Martin Luther King Building, and we're planning to further expand our research footprint in Oakland. Just to summarize that impact, again, it just shows you what kind of results you can get when you have talent coupled with support and investment. You can see we have 81 NIH awards this year, 32 R01s, 25 Ks, and 60 32s, and we've published as a department over 1,000 publications, many high-impact publications. And I want to share with you just 3 of those high-impact publications now. The first, by Rachel Wadier and Suni Kaiser in the Journal of Pediatrics, Urine Testing in Children with Viral Symptoms, a nationwide analysis of ambulatory visits. The second, led by Elliot Stieglitz, along with his co-authors, William Temple and Ben Braun, in Nature Communications, Cellular Immunotherapy Targeting CLL1 or JML. And the third, led by Matt Zinter, along with his colleagues, Erica Evans, Chris Dvorak, and Nahal Lelafar, in JCI Insight, integrating pulmonary and systemic transcriptomes to characterize lung injury after pediatric hematopoietic stem cell transplant. So you can see how even now, in times of uncertainty for academic research, our department continues to move forward, acting to advance discovery, And this next video that I'm going to now share with you just shows just a few of our early career investigators and how their acts are bringing hope to improve the health and well-being of children. So let's watch that.
My name is David Jaganoff.
I'm Mary Prawl.
My name is Betsy Young.
My name is Jason Nagata.
Hi, I'm Matthew Kahn.
I'm John Watansky.
I'm Lena Weinstone.
Tuberculosis, which is the field that I focus on, has been around for thousands of years, and it's the world's leading cause of death from an infectious disease. And yet, we don't have good ways to diagnose it, especially in children. And so I think it's very exciting to be involved in a community that's really working together to solve these high-impact global problems.
My clinical work taking care of severely ill children and my personal experiences as a parent has really deeply shaped my research. And through this work, I've met many mothers who are frustrated by the deprioritization of pregnancy in pediatric research and really want data-driven answers about the health of their pregnancy and their children.
I've seen the age of immunotherapy usher in an incredible improvement in outcomes for many pediatric cancers. And I'm very motivated to achieve similar wins in the treatment of pediatric solid tumors.
My research is focused on identifying immunologic markers that drive protection against severe pediatric infections. And so this knowledge will support the development of more effective vaccines and immune prevention strategies, really tailored to the unique characteristics of infant immunity.
Our team studies data from the largest long-term study of adolescent brain development in the US to understand how types of technology impact youth health. By translating this research into practical recommendations, we aim to give pediatricians, families, and teens the tools they need to use media in a healthier, safer, and more balanced ways.
My research lab is focused on helping families facing social adversity who have a child undergoing liver transplant address their social adversity. And through our work, we've developed a health advocate intervention to help families after transplant get the support that they need. For example, one family said, "I will thank you for the rest of my life."
My research has the potential to fundamentally transform pediatric cancer care by driving equitable access to cutting-edge treatments and interventions. We're working to address practical challenges such as transportation, financial strain, and caregiver support through the direct provision of concrete resources to families undergoing stem cell transplant.
In the next 10 years, my dream is that as a field, we'll have made the tools to deliver CRISPR genome editing to many organs in the body to fix most genetically inherited mutations, and that these can be delivered with simple blood infusions.
I envision a future where we can actually prevent asthma using data related to genetics, other multi-omics, environmental factors to predict risk, identify those children who are most vulnerable before the disease actually develops.
I think in this era of precision medicine, I hope we can really start to move away from developing tools and medicines that are just for adults and then adapted for children, and really start to think about the child's unique needs.
Both as a physician and a mother, my perspective on pediatric care has been profoundly shaped by my daughter's recent diagnosis of a rare genetic bone disorder at UCSF Benioff Children's Hospital here at Mission Bay. And this experience has really deepened my hope for a future where advancements in personalized pediatric medicine, including gene therapy and CRISPR technologies, really enable effective treatments for rare disorders. I also envision the use of emerging technologies to prevent common yet severe diseases in young children. And my aspiration is to see UCSF leading the way in preventing pediatric diseases through groundbreaking translational research and innovation.
We can all be inspired by the passion of these young investigators and how they're acting acting to improve child health. Let's move on now to our efforts in our mission to educate the next generation of pediatricians. These are our education leaders: Sandrine Van Schaik, our Vice Chair for Education; Duncan Henry, who directs the San Francisco Pediatric Residency Program; Celeste Allen, who directs the residency program in Oakland; and Erica Lawson, who directs our pediatric clerkship program. One of the things that I feel a personal, deep responsibility for as the chair of one of the leading departments of pediatrics in the country is the responsibility to develop the next generation of pediatric leaders and pediatricians. And it's a responsibility that's shared, I think, quite widely across our department. And so many of the activities that our education leaders have been involved with this past year include innovations in medical education, new pathways to encourage medical students into pediatrics, cultivating leaders in education. On the innovation side, we rolled out a new residency curriculum this year to make sure we were in compliance with the ACGME new residency requirements that went into effect in July. We introduced a dedicated 4-week pediatric mental health block, and we expanded early subspecialty exposure to enrich residents' experience. We've developed programs to advance our educators' skills. We launched a new pathway into pediatrics called Ped Start, which I'm going to share with you a video to share a little bit more about that in a moment. This is for medical students. And we reviewed our entire didactic curriculum for our clerkship to improve it. And that's resulted in the last 2 years in an improvement in our exam pass rates from 85 to 93%. We had these 5 individuals who were elected into the UCSF Academy of Medical Educators this year. We now have 37 faculty who are in the AME. We only had 12 back in 2020. We're now the second largest cohort in the School of Medicine, second only to the Department of Medicine. And I want to congratulate Deb Franzen, Manjari Karandikar, Liz Seashore, Margaret Robinson, and Christine Nelson for being elected. I also want to recognize 2 of our faculty who were elected into the UCSF Teaching Scholars Program this year, Rohini Jain and Claire Gibson. So as you can see, 24 faculty recognized with teaching awards, 19 residents entering fellowships, 19 of our graduating fellows joining our faculty. Now I want to spend a minute sharing with you about Ped Start, this new program for medical students. We have, as you all know, a national shortage of pediatricians and pediatric specialists in the country. And so this program was launched to try to encourage more students to consider pediatrics as a profession. And this video highlights both the energy and commitments of these students, as well as our educators who are guiding them to see pediatrics not just as a career, but as a calling.
Is Jessica Esparza del Toro. I'm a 3rd-year medical student, part of the Ped Start program.
My name is Tomi Lewis. I'm a 3rd-year medical student here at UCSF and part of the Ped Start program.
Hi, my name is Julia Wolf, and I'm a 3rd-year medical student.
Hi, my name is Michelle Long, and I am a pediatric hospitalist. I am the co-director for Pediatric Medical Student Career Advising here at UCSF, and I am the director of Ped Start. Ped Start as one more intentional, structured way to support students as they develop their commitment to pediatrics. It's a longitudinal program which starts early in medical school and gives students a way to build connections and find dedicated mentors and immerse themselves in experiences that support their journey from medical school into and including pediatric residency training to continue their commitment to child health here at UCSF. So it's a newer program, but we hope that it will address the growing shortage of pediatricians and pediatric specialists.
I've really enjoyed is just the community that surrounds us. Every faculty member and just staff that I interact with has been super supporting. And I think being surrounded by just like-minded peers who are dedicated to pediatric health has just been a truly special experience.
I've been really fortunate to work with a lot of amazing people, and knowing that I will be staying at UCSF for residency has really allowed me to kind of build these connections and relationships with faculty. And during my pediatric heme-oncology elective that I had the opportunity to take at Mission Bay, I got to see firsthand how diverse backgrounds and clinical perspectives could really unite around a shared commitment to excellent patient care. And I'm really looking forward to having that community built into my training here at UCSF.
START has given me the space to bring my passion project, Doctor Buddies, to life. With support from faculty like Dr. Michelle Long, I'm building a meaningful program that fosters positive healthcare experiences where UCSF medical students and children with developmental disabilities learn from one another in safe, supportive, simulated medical interactions.
I want to say this is just one of many great programs we have that gets students involved in pediatrics. Our department is full of people who are passionate about supporting students and keeping them connected to their pediatric journeys. But we know that increased early exposure helps students see the joy and meaning in caring for children, and it significantly raises the likelihood that they will choose pediatrics as a career, and our commitment starts early on.
Students who are interested in a career in pediatrics, they represent the next generation of pediatricians, the ones to whom we'll pass the torch when the time comes to continue the work that we're engaged in to make the world a better place for children. I want to just spend a moment emphasizing something that's really important from a practical perspective, which is everything I shared with you about our academic mission, both our research success and our education success. Those two academic missions are actually deficit programs. We have to support them with substantial amount of dollars. You saw the amount of money we've been putting into our research enterprise to support our research program. The same is true of our education program. And so it's absolutely critical, if we're going to continue this trajectory, that we continue to have a reliable funding stream to support this work. And at the end of the day, there really are only two funding sources for this academic work. The first is philanthropy, and philanthropy is very important to us. We really cherish our partnership with UDAR and the foundation, the gift officers, raising money to support our efforts. But the problem with philanthropy is, first of all, it's unpredictable. We never know whether we're going to get a gift or not. And it's also generally restricted. The vast majority of the money we get, a gift, it's restricted to some specific thing that the donor's interested in. Maybe it's brain tumors, or maybe it's sickle cell disease. It's not available to us when we want to invest in a young person who's doing something other than that. And also, there's not enough money coming in from philanthropy. So that's why the second and only other source that we have is so critical, and that's the margin from our clinical activity. I know that people get tired of hearing about RVUs and the business of medicine, and sometimes I've heard people say all we seem to care about anymore is billing, and we don't care about research and education anymore. And actually, that's the opposite of true. The reason we emphasize RVU so much is because that's the source we need to make sure we can continue to invest and succeed in our academic missions. Now, in terms of our efforts in health disparities, you saw some of the work that some of our young researchers are doing to try to improve outcomes in children. I want to just show you one example this year of another program that was rolled out this past year at UCSF, an innovative care model. And that was something called the CSFG, our faculty at the department at CSFG in pediatrics rolled out, called open access scheduling. And basically what it is it reserves more appointment slots during the same week. So if patients want to get in quickly and it's a last minute thing, it's easier for them to access. It's been remarkably successful. They saw an immediate drop from dozens of children waiting to get off the waiting list to 0. And 75% of their patients were school ready by the time summer break ended. All this work requires that our people can continue to succeed at their goals and aspirations for their careers. And so we continue to invest in supporting our people. Just want to show you the remarkable growth in the number of faculty in the last 5 years. We've almost doubled the size of the faculty. We're one of the largest departments of pediatrics in the country now. We're just about at 500 faculty. You can't grow like that without growing pains. So we've had growing pains. I'm sure many of you have felt those growing pains. And the size is not the most important thing, but size is important because it allows us to expand our impact. By being larger, we can have a greater impact at the national level as it relates to pediatrics. And that growth is not tapering off. We recruited over 60 faculty this past year into the department. In order to ensure that our faculty can continue to be successful, we've rolled out various support programs. The AI Scribe program came out last year. We're in our second year now of our coaching program, which started as a pilot last year with the first 40 faculty in the first cohort, and now we're doing a second group of 40 going through the coaching program. We launched a mentorship program for early career faculty 5 years ago now, but it continues. We're in our third year now of a new faculty orientation program that every year invites all the new faculty to come for a full day of orientation. And we launched a financial learning series for research faculty to learn more about how to manage pre and post award. On the staff side, we have this peer-to-peer learning series focused on building practical skills. We started a research administrative wiki that houses all of our research policies and procedures. Spot awards, which recognize high impact staff contributions with a cash payment for exceptional work. Star Achievement Awards, which recognize sustained and significant contributions over time. And 48 of our staff members received commendations this year. Now, I always, every year, like to acknowledge 2 of what I call our unsung heroes. These are people doing incredibly impactful work, but that's under the radar screen that people don't always notice. And this year, I want to acknowledge the following 2 people. The first is Kathleen Tebb, who's a professor in the Division of Adolescent and Young Adult Medicine. Kathleen has provided consultation, training, and technical support in 50 counties for the California Friday Night Live programs that advance positive youth development and substance use prevention. She supports the Gateway Mountain Center's Whole Hearts, Minds, and Bodies program, which is the first nature-based, Medicaid-certified therapeutic mentoring model for youth with serious mental health challenges. And she has served for nearly 15 years as the founding member of the Synergy Coalition in Vallejo, which is a community organization that improves health for underserved youth and families. And our second unsung hero this year is Karen Tan, who's a program manager in the Division of Medical Education. Karen has strengthened our graduate medical education programs by leading with innovation, collaboration, and operational excellence. She spearheaded the Funds Flow 2.0 initiative, which modernized the Medicare validation process and implemented Smartsheet automation tools. And she's worked to secure a significant revenue increase, enhancing accuracy and supporting the long-term success of our training programs. So all of you really should feel a great deal of pride in what you are doing and how your actions are improving child health and really having an impact on families and patients. What I've shared with you today, the acts that members of our department are taking, this is what gives me hope that we'll not only get through these uncertain times, but we'll come out stronger and better. The acts that each of us take brings us one step closer to perfecting our world. We can't do everything, but as you've seen, each of us can focus on where we can make a difference, one small step at a time. Small steps lead to bigger steps. The more we act, the more hopelessness retreats. If we act, the grip of hopelessness will be loosened. Every individual, every action has the potential to unleash a chain of events that can lead to repair, revitalization, and reinvention. Don't think for a moment that your act is too small to make a difference. Remember what William Seward said about there was always just enough virtue when we needed it. Your small act might be the one that tips the scales. Just remember that the road is long. The sages taught that we're not required to complete the work, but neither are we free to neglect it. So those of us here today, when our energy is spent and our time is done, we'll pass the torch to the next generation, like those young medical students we saw. We'll pass the torch to them, just as we received it from those who came before us. I want to thank each of you for all you do. Your acts give me supreme hope and confidence that our best days are still ahead of us. Thank you.